Morning and good morning. Obviously, very excited about race day here at the historic Milwaukee Mile today. What's sure to be a couple of great races, but wanted to begin the day by honoring the legendary Justin Wilson. Crazy to think now it's been 10 years since his passing. An incredible racer, even better father, husband, and certainly a friend to a lot of people in this room, including the five up here as well. In partnership with Marshall Pruett and CoForce, an announcement, very special announcement this morning that a documentary film is in production. It's entitled Badass Wilson, His Life and His Legacy. The documentary film is in production and coming soon, with the official premiere date to be published on CoForce's social media channels and on badasswilson.com. If you don't mind, please turn your attention towards the monitor there on the left for a sneak peek of the film.
The numbers don't tell the whole story, do they? And they never have. You don't read statistics.
He was one of those guys that broke the saying, nice guys finish last.
Number one, his father, husband, and he's a hell of a race driver.
Those that didn't know him, it's a shame, because he was truly a good person.
Justin was somebody that everybody should study. You can win, you can be competitive, you can be a hard ass, but you can do it in the right way.
We've been trying to say that we're coming, and I think this really lets people know.
Justin Wilson, Justin Wilson, Justin Wilson. He was so calculated.
If he was on the attack,
Look out.
how does he do it? He's doing this high wire act with one hand behind the back. He only has one season in Formula One. He should have got a second chance. He should have got a second year. He was able to be the leader in the paddock no matter what happened on bridge. Justin Wilson was badass.
Yes, he was. Not only is this morning obviously an opportunity to talk about the doc, but also reflect on the life and career of Justin Wilson. You know this group up here, Doug Boles, president of INDYCAR and IMS. Good morning, Doug. Dario Franchitti, the four-time INDYCAR Series champion, joins us as well. Jonny Baker, CoForce CEO. Will Buxton from INDYCAR on Fox. Let's begin though with Marshall. Good morning, Marshall. What a special day today is. Why is this moment the right time for a documentary like this?
I want to first say a huge thanks to Max Butler, that trailer, his brilliance. Also want to say morning to the Wilson family. I believe Keith and Lynn, Justin's parents, and likely his little, actually taller, younger brother Stefan are likely watching. So Justin was one of my closest friends, nothing to do with racing, just as a person. And so it's been weighing pretty heavily on my heart, like this 10-year anniversary is coming. Been thinking about this, what are we going to do at the 10-year point for about 2 years? And because I'm a self-avowed idiot, about 6 weeks ago, it finally occurred to me what to do. Well, let's do a documentary because that's easy to do, to pull off in no time. I thought about that, reached out to Steph and said, hey, what do you think? And he said, that'd be amazing. I said, cool, but you've got to be a producer on this with me. I don't want to do this without you. And so we started developing a list of who to interview. We've done 18 interviews so far. We're going to cross the 20 threshold next month. Mr. Lanigan here, Mike Lanigan, we'd love to speak with you about Justin. Mike Hull from Ganassi and others. Mark Webber's Formula One teammate, trying to get connected with Lewis Hamilton and more, just to give love to Justin. So that occurred to me at a very late hour. My friends and partners at CoForce, who I work with constantly, I reached out to Jonny Baker and said, what do you think? And his eyes kind of crossed and said, you want to get this done by when? And I truly had only one demand. If we were going to do it, Max was going to be my co-director, co-everything, because his heart and sensibilities are just perfect for what we're trying to do here. So decided to do this. This is a love letter to a dear friend, but more than anything, this is meant to be for the Wilson family, primarily for their daughters, Jane and Jess. Jane was 7 when Justin was lost. Jess is 5. She doesn't have a lot of memories of her dad. Jane looks just like Justin. She speaks just like him. Her cadence, her everything. Jane is exactly like her mom, Julia. And we got to go out and see them and spend some time and film with them the Thursday of the Portland Race Week. It was magical. So this has been a beautiful thing to see coming together. And Doug, Alex Damron, Mark Miles, everybody at INDYCAR was an immediate yes. Tell us how we can help. This is all for Justin. And that's been the cool thing, is knowing that this is a Justin project. IMSA, Formula One, you name it. Everybody in some way, shape, or form has said, yes, tell us how we can help. So just a measure of the man. Last thing I'll mention here is on this day, this 10th anniversary of losing Justin, when we're done here at 9:30, Honda will be here celebrating, doing press conference about winning the Manufacturers Championship. One of the themes you'll see spoken of heavily in the documentary is Justin and the way that he went about racing with dignity, with respect for his fellow driver. He was a peaceful person, but also was a badass on track. And Scott Dixon has exemplified that for years. But I think of Alex Palou, our new 4-time champion, and think if Justin was here, I think he'd be fascinated by Alex, because I think he'd see a lot of himself in how Alex goes about his career in a warm and positive way, and then does things on track that infuriates the heck out of everybody else because they're trying to solve that puzzle. So on this 10th anniversary, thinking about all that Justin left behind with us, I think there's a pretty deep infusion of his spirit in this paddock. So the idea to put together a documentary, hopefully we'll have this ready by the end of the year, just feels right.
It is a tremendous undertaking anytime you put together something like this. Certainly on the timeline, you guys have done it. So it's been impressive already to see, as you're shaking your head. Yes, it's already been impressive. The sneak peek that we've seen today. Doug, for you, as mentioned, it's crazy, 10 years. What are your memories when you hear about the name Justin Wilson?
Well, first of all, when Marshall came to us and with this idea, he's right. I think Mark and Alex and I all were excited about it. I think because of what Justin meant, and you heard the quote in there, you can't race statistics. They don't always tell the story. And that really is the story of Justin Wilson. And Justin maybe never got the perfect ride for Justin and his talent. His talent oftentimes far exceeded the cars he was in. But the beauty of Justin, I think, is that he could be a coalition builder. He was the one, I was only 2 years in my job at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway as president when Justin was racing, but he became one of those people that you could call and you could ask questions and you knew you were going to get the right answer from Justin. And that was the same as the paddock. Drivers, even Scott Dixon could count on somebody like Justin Wilson. Dario is going to tell you probably the same thing, that you look at, when you look at those statistics, there is Scott Dixon, there's Dario Franchitti, and Justin's down here. But those drivers looked up to Justin because of his talent, but also because of his demeanor and his ability to really help people think through problems and really build the coalition. It's one of the things I think, as you look at the paddock today, I mean, who is that next Justin Wilson? Who's that person in the paddock that all the drivers can go to? And oftentimes you think of, it's got to be Scott Dixon, right? That's got to be the guy. And the thing that was so cool about Justin is he was not the one you would expect. But if you would have polled the drivers who were competing in that day, I would guarantee you that almost every single one of them would said, if I have to trust somebody, if I have an issue, if I have a question, if I want to ask somebody to tell me honestly, how can I be better at my craft? It was going to be Justin Wilson. And it was the secret sauce about him. He could run on the track, but he had this unbelievable ability to be a friend and a mentor to everybody that was driving a race car.
Well said.
John, I should also let me mention quickly, he wasn't just an emissary for the drivers to the series. He'd come to me every now and then. Hey, if you see Kanan, steer clear. That thing you wrote or the thing you said, he said he's going to whoop your ass. So he also was kind of my personal savior among the drivers too.
Johnny, maybe for you to speak to the opportunity to help tell Justin's story. in such a very unique way. No pressure. It's got to be really good, right?
Yeah, that will be. And just on that word pressure, like there is pressure with it, but pressure's great. Like that's where we do our best work. And I think ultimately that's what you have to be willing to live with. And that's what makes the end product so rewarding. So that's, we feel like we're in good shape. And I think the key to any production like this, and our guys will have heard me preach this, you got to have access and you got to have resource. And we're fortunate that we've got both. And big thanks to INDYCAR. Without them, this wouldn't be possible. All the historical footage we have is just unbelievable. And I think that's really then when you tie in the access that Marshall's been able to line up with the likes of Doug, Dario, Will, Mike, you know, and 18 interviews with, and I think we're going to surpass 20 next month. Like the access is going to be unreal. So yeah, feel really good about that. And then obviously having Max lead the project from our side. Max is amazing. So really excited to see what we can all cook up. And I think also having the support of the Wilson family is key. Steph's a good friend of mine and everyone at CoForce, so that makes it that little bit more special as well. So we're excited. I think excited to see what we can all come up with. But yeah, we're going to make something special for sure.
Will, coming to you next here. You were just coming into the sport when Justin was graduating, let's call it, from F3000 going into Formula One. What are some of your memories of Justin during that time?
Morning, everyone. First, a huge thank you to Marshall for asking me to be a part of this. I feel wholly unqualified and very honored to be a part of it. But yeah, I was just starting out. One of my first gigs when I joined Formula One magazine as this greenhorn straight out of university was to go to the press conference where Justin announced that he was kind of floating himself on the stock market in order to raise the funds that would allow him to go and compete in Formula One. But even before that, you know, he'd been out here, he tested out here. This was always part of the dream that Justin had. And I think one thing that always set Justin apart was his humility. And that came across, and how mild-mannered he was. But as you guys have so rightly pointed out, that he was a badass. I think as racing drivers, you always look back on races and think, I could have done something better. I think for us, when we're doing interviews, we seem to think of something after the fact that when we've been interviewed, we could have said. And I thought it's probably going to sound really silly, but for anyone who remembers the cartoon Hong Kong Fury, the mild-mannered janitor who was actually a superhero and a total badass. That was Justin. He could have achieved so much more than he had the opportunity to do in Formula One. You know, where I've ostensibly been for the last 25 years. But the fact that he didn't was almost because he overachieved in the early part of his one and only season. He looked so good and performed so well that he was almost voted into a place that didn't give him that opportunity to shine. But Formula One's loss was IndyCar's gain, and I think Justin's gain as well, because he found a place and he found a home that was far more representative of the person that he was, which wasn't political and didn't play games and didn't go out to, you know, maybe mess people over for selfish reasons. He was selfless and a phenomenal racing driver that still to this day, you know, we all look up to, drivers look up to, and part of our job, you know, in storytelling and getting people to care about the drivers today is to do that through the lens of history. And there's no better person to have the drivers of today and the fans of today to look up to than Justin.
Well said, Dario, and then we'll open it up for questions or any other thoughts anyone has. But Dario, I'm obviously a close friend of yours. You guys had some hellacious battles on track as well. Just maybe share a couple of thoughts about Justin.
We had some hellacious nights out too.
Also that, yes.
Well, good morning, everybody. I think, you know, if you're in this room, you knew Justin and probably fairly well. I would say thank you, Marshall. And thank you, everybody involved, because I think Justin was always a bit under the radar because he wasn't a self-promoter, and he probably didn't get the respect he deserved, I would say, at the time for what he was able to achieve. And in the 10 years since he passed, I think that my biggest concern is that he would be forgotten. And I think this doesn't allow that to happen. So well done, MP, on that. That's really, really important that we do this for our friends. Anyway, yeah, he was, Doug said he was a guy that we all went to, and we did. We went to him. There was a time that the drivers were all getting together as a group and trying to improve things in the sport. And I think James Hinchcliffe was involved, I was involved, Justin was involved heavily. And we had a lot of sort of late night phone calls trying to sort of steer things in a way that improved all kinds of parts of the sport, including safety. And a lot of those calls were Justin going, okay, right, just calm down. We'll figure this out, but I think we should maybe do this. And he had such a gentle way in everything he did, apart from driving a racing car, of sort of steering it and diffusing, maybe the passion of some of the rest of us. And Kanan was involved, so you can imagine some of the steam coming out of his ears. But Justin was so good at doing that too. And he had that crazy ability to be a selfless racing driver, which, I mean, we're all very good at hiding it, but we're all really, really, really selfish people. Okay, maybe not so good at hiding it, but you get the idea. The hardest bit actually about you and I talking at Laguna was I prefer to remember whether it's him, Greg, Dan, or the fun stuff. Standing here after I picked him for the pole and then putting me in a headlock, or drinking too much tequila in Japan, or all these different fun things. No, okay, well, that was a specific one. But, yeah. And so I look back and at those great memories, and I'm glad that with you doing this, other people are going to understand a bit more about this amazing, gentle giant who was an incredible person and just the most wonderful racing driver.
I know we've got a couple of reporters in here. If you have a question, Tess has a microphone. Wolfgang, you better have two questions.
Come on, Wolfgang.
I did have two questions for you, Marshall. As far as I understand, your documentary will also cover just in time in motor racing before we moved to America. How difficult was it to trace people, for example, in Formula Palma Audi at that time in Junior Formula, which was dominated by Justin, then Formula 3000, Nordic Racing, and then Minardi. And the second question, is it also planned in the future to produce this documentary on DVD so that fans can purchase it in stores?
I love that you believe DVD still exists. So that is phenomenal, Wolfie. Never change, my guy. No, I mean, we'll start with that first. No one's making any profits off this. There's no licensing fees. We all agreed going in. We just want to cover the production costs. And this is strictly of the couple things that occurred to me thinking about what should we do. Steph Wilson's just asking what's the status of DVD production. Wilson, get a job. We realized, for those of us who knew Justin or know of Justin, a lot of his story. So we want to celebrate that and share more. But he did pass 10 years ago. And Doug and Dave and everybody at INDYCAR knows so well, there's been a huge upswell of fandom, new fans in racing over the last 10 years who've come in without knowing Justin, without having seen him. So a lot of us wanting to do this, the reason is so that folks who never knew him can maybe learn about somebody and realize, wow, what a gift. So all free. It's going to be distributed across all of INDYCAR's digital channels. We've got some others we're working on, which we'll hopefully share soon, but it's just meant to be something where we want as many folks just to know about him. I do still have a DVD burner, so I can make you one zero charge, Wolfie. So it is. As for the access, so the fun part, Jonathan Palmer, who was Justin's manager and really did help propel him, we're meant to interview him. They've been super helpful. Funny story, Bedford Autodrome has been a big part of Palmer's life. It's where Justin came up working as a driving instructor. One of Lewis Hamilton's first job with him and Steph was as a driving instructor. Not so long ago, the entire Wilson family flew to the UK, spent time with JP, Uncle Palmer, and Jane, their eldest daughter, climbed into open wheel car, prototype, you name it. And according to Steph, she wants to become a veterinarian. She's heading into her final year of high school, then wants to become a veterinarian. But according to Steph, no joke, she has it. Like if she wants to become a race car driver, she has it. Julia, their mom, is like, no. But they're centrally involved through CoForce, the Great Mary Mower, her husband Chris, the Mower family, which ran Nordic. Lots of photos and stuff that's coming. We're going to interview Chris. So when I said earlier, the amount of people who want to help and that are getting involved because it's Justin, it's phenomenal, Wolfie. It really is. So F3000, Palmer Audi, you name it. A lot of good folks are getting involved here to make sure we have that content.
Maybe additional to that, after the Justin dominated Formula Palmer Audi in England, Audi offered him a DTM drive for a lot of money, and I was impressed that he turned it down and said, I want to stay in open wheel. He could even make more money as a DTM driver.
We should have you up here. The historian, that's phenomenal.
We've got time for one more off Zoom. Archie O'Reilly, thanks for joining us. Go ahead, Archie.
Thanks, Dave. Hi, guys. Speaking to Marshall's earlier point, I mean, I was 10 years old a decade ago and growing up in the UK from a family that wasn't really race fans. INDYCAR wasn't something that was particularly on my radar. So I know you've already shared a few memories, but for whoever really wants to chime in on this, what are your kind of fondest and favorite memories of Justin that kind of define him both as a person or a race car driver?
I'll just say one thing. When he won at Watkins Glen in the Dale Coyne car, there was more other drivers went into that victory lane to congratulate him than I've ever seen before. And I think that says a lot about how we all thought about him. That day, it was busy. There was like a line. There was like a reception line. It was like a wedding. We're all waiting to congratulate the big man. And that was to me the ultimate sort of proof of how we all felt, because we all got beaten that day, but didn't matter.
Two quick things. Last weekend, we were in Monterey for the Monterey reunion, great annual historic event there. I don't remember the reason why, but I wasn't able to attend Pocono in 2015. The weekend prior was the Monterey reunion. Justin's there driving a 1967 Porsche 911 something or other that he didn't fit in. Like every other car, he never fit in. But my last text from Justin is a photo of him up against the fence, taking a photo of, I think, one of the screaming Mazda 4-rotor prototypes, which you hate the sound, but that's okay. You now like them. You MF those things for like a half hour to me once.
No, that was the slow ones at Daytona that made all the noise.
That's the point. It was a 2-rotor. But it's just a photo of Justin walking up to the fence, taking a photo of one of those prototypes going by. And so this is a guy who's won all the things you could imagine in life, but was just such a fan. And this is so cool. I could listen to this all day. It's something I'd send to somebody just as a guy. But to get that from him, it was just always a reminder. We might know of him as all the things he's achieved, but ultimately, he's just one of us, kind of nose pressed up against the fence. Look at those cool cars. To still have that kind of childlike passion, I've just always appreciated that. Last thing I'll mention here, Mike Shank is here, Jay Fry, Mr. Lanigan, so many folks, Lisa Boggs from Firestone, friends from Honda, Chuck Schiff's, on and on and on, Mark from INDYCAR Radio. Guy's been gone 10 years. Look how much he's loved.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks, Archie. We'll go ahead and leave it there. Everything was well said today. The perseverance, I keep going back to his perseverance. He was with some teams that, right, and then still did quite well throughout his career. And what a special way to begin this day. He was a 10-time starter here in Milwaukee. His best finish was second, podium finisher here. He would love a gorgeous day like this. So as we go about our day today here at the Milwaukee Mile and celebrate another IndyCar Series race, keep in mind of Justin's legacy and look forward to seeing the finished documentary, Badass Wilson, His Life and Legacy, coming soon. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you.
Thanks, y'all.